get their laughter or get their...
Gotcha.
That's my opinion. I don't know. I'm also a fucking idiot. So,
You're not an idiot, bro.
happy...
I think I will win that I will win that one.
No way, man.
I get the idiot trophy.
We'll see. We'll see by the end of this episode. But happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. What's going on?
That's a great sell for everyone at the beginning. Just us competing as who's the bigger idiot.
Who's the bigger idiot
and then
today?
telling everyone to listen.
Yeah. All right, we're going to finish up with who's the biggest idiot. I think...
we'll let the people be the judge of that by the end of all this, eh?
Yeah. I don't know if you had any topics that you wanted to chat about today, but I think we'll probably end up inevitably talking about American politics. I wanted to, if we do get on that topic, I want to finish up with just like the broad idea that has been on my mind recently. So I'll bring that up after. Just revolving politics in general.
Right.
But
let's do it, man.
yeah, no, I was going to say in regards to tattoos, it's funny because we were just talking before we started recording about getting tattoos. And I was saying it's a lot of annoying ass conversations. Like when you start getting tattoos, you are subject to a lot of annoying conversations. And when I first started to, dude, I thought like all the annoying conversations would be like the family member stuff. And like my mom did tear up when I first came home with tattoos. But no, dude, the annoying conversations are never like that's permanent or anything like that, because that's kind of expected and you just laugh about it because the type of people that say that, you're just like, yeah, okay.
Right.
But no, I think the most annoying conversation around tattoos, and anyone that has them has had this conversation when people come up and they're like, so what does this mean? What does that mean? Like, why did you get this? And like, honestly, there probably is meaning to most of their tattoos. Most people do have maybe like one silly one that they just got or whatever it could be. But even when someone asks, for the most part, 90% of the time, I'll just either make something funny up that I'll just laugh about personally in my own head and just troll.
Right.
Or I'll just like, oh, I liked it.
Right.
Just like give like the shallow answer, and it probably makes me sound more shallow, but I'm like, fuck, I just don't want to have, it's like, hello, random person. Let me tell you about a bunch of things that I'm emotionally connected to.
Well, I don't know. I guess for you, like when you got your tattoos at the time, was there any sort of emotional connection to any of the stuff that you got, or is it just more of a, it kind of lets you express yourself?
Yeah. I'd say behind like 99% of it, there is like an emotional kind of connection to, and then the rest of it is just kind of, no, I'd say, yeah, it all has meaning for sure. There's definitely parts of it where like I had more say of like what was going to be like a direct, like I want this, and this. And then there was some things where my artist just kind of took liberties and ran with it. And I was like, hell yeah.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, it's just, it's an amalgamation. That's a cool
What does that
word.
mean? Yeah, I was going to say, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Right there.
I don't actually know.
You're lying.
Yeah, no. I think an amalgamation means like a combination or like a synergy, like a synergistic kind of compilation. I'm just kind of throwing words out. Are you searching the...
I'm going to look it up. I can't even say it. What was it? Amalgamations?
Amalgamation. Amalgamation. I couldn't spell it. I can just say it.
Amalgamations. Don't worry. You kind of throw a bunch of letters in there that kind of look like it, and then if it's a real word, Google will tell you. Amalgamations. It says, an amalgamation happens when two or more companies combine to form a completely new entity. Okay. I guess that's a very specific definition, but I would imagine then the root of this word is about like, a convergence of sorts.
To amalgamate.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. So I'll say that I used it right. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think you're white, so it has
Just
some
trust
credibility.
me. Yeah, just trust me.
Yeah, I do. I really do. Just by natural authority.
You should, as you should. But yeah, man. So, what's been going on with you, man? Did you have anything that you wanted to chat about or discuss today at all?
No, when we come on here, I don't think we come in here with any sort of agenda. But I imagine, like, with we're living through like some pretty historic times, so I imagine some topics naturally will come up.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually, I feel like when I love chatting with you, man. I feel like whenever we do, though, it's like we just kind of go. We go through. Oh, there's a cat. It's all right. We go through, like, we give our macro, micro perspectives, which kind of from a personal level, and then all the way to the macro, to the global level, and it kind of works out. So
I think she's trying to get your attention, but
she got it,
dude,
it's okay. I'm not tripping.
Yeah, no, it's funny, man. I think that it's interesting to hear about a bunch of different people's perspectives right now. I've got a lot of, kind of older and some American people and kind of, like, Republican and Democrat, different, a big amalgamation of people on social media, and that's a good callback. But I've got a big group of people, like different demographics on social media, and
Right.
I feel like right now it's just a cesspool of different memes. Like, I saw one today of like this like AI generated Kamala Harris holding like the Book of Justice, like looking like the Statue of Liberty type thing.
Oh, jeez.
And like
That lady's an empty shell.
yeah, I honestly, I was joking yesterday with my brother-in-law. I'm like, dude, she honestly hasn't done anything for the last 4 years other than cackle. I feel like.
I don't even know where she's been. Like, I don't even know what vice president duties are as a result of her being there, because she hasn't really done anything.
Yeah.
And her responses, have you heard this woman speak? Listen,
Just the laugh alone.
The laugh?
Weird, awkward laugh.
there's the laughter aspect of it, but the other part is like this very condescending, like her tone when she speaks to people. She's always talking to people like they're 4 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be spaceships. And it's so condescending. I'm like, it's so, I don't know, I find it so vile, so like, I don't even, her personality just grosses people out. I mean, I would, just because of the way that she speaks to people and the way, for her to automatically assume that, I just need to talk down on you.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, man, is like, I seen her speak, and then I felt like this is kind of like, for the people up here in Canada, when you watch, most people, I presumably don't watch the CBC, but they're kind of lost all credit.
What is that?
They're worse than CNN, I think. They're worse than CNN up here, like, and it's publicly funded.
Yeah.
But whenever you watch them, almost all of their, like, rundowns of stuff, especially with their special little news segments and stuff, they speak on camera. They speak to people like they're 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What inflation is
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah. If a country give you a basic definition, and then they try to explain away all the bullshit that's happening as if you're like 8 years old. Now just shoo off. We've explained it to you. Go over there now. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And I don't know, man. I never like that tone. If I don't like that tone from an individual, Lord forbid that I won't be able to see it on a macro level, right? And that's publicly funded. Like, I'm paying for this.
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
our taxes. You know what I mean? I remember every year I'd get a bonus check from work. 40% of that is gone before you can even see it.
Yeah, yeah.
That shit pisses me off.
Oh, man.
And then you go around and you see this, you get CBC talking to you like you're a child while they take your money. I'm like, this. I don't know, man. It just somebody needs to go and just piss right on their doorstep to really.
Yeah. It's an odd one for sure. And dude, even just on like the whole like Canadian narrative in regards to the news and everything like that, I had such an interesting experience this week, dude. Teddy and I went to the mall. I think we had to, it was last week, and we had to do like a return or something, whatever. It was like in and out, taking care of 15 minutes. And then we're walking back to my truck, and we're like, oh, let's go to the bakery that we like to go to, grab a coffee, whatever.
Right.
So we go to the bakery. As we're like parking, there's these like two people fully masked up, like completely.
Still?
Dude, okay, but wait, it gets interesting. So fully masked up, and they look like they're like trying to like look at something through a notebook, like old school, looking through directions and stuff like that. And so it turns out it's like a brother and sister. I get out and I'm like, oh, you guys need directions? They're like, do you need anything? And it turns out it's like a brother and sister. They're visiting from California, which
Right.
explains the masks. And and
We can't really say much about California. Our whole country is California.
No, I know. That's why I understand it
worse.
so well.
Yeah.
But and that hence the shirt.
Hey, it looks great, man,
Right?
honestly.
And So they're just looking for directions. They're staying in Vancouver. They came to Richmond to see Steveston or whatever it was, and they're looking for directions. We start helping them, and then they start talking to us about our view of the world. And I'm like kind of not stepping on eggshells, but I'm like, I'm not looking to have a debate in a parking lot in Richmond right now. Like, I'm just trying to chill. It's a Saturday afternoon. I'm I'm not looking for it. And so she starts going off about her kind of views. And she goes, she turns out to be like basically, I'm kind of feeling them out. And then I bring up, I won't bring up Biden and Kamala, but I bring up RFK, and the guy instantly dismisses me. He's like, that guy's a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, well, if you think he's a conspiracy theorist, you wait till you get a load of me. And so it turns out these guys are like forever Democrats turned Trumpsters in the last year.
Right.
And they're like just down the line, like obviously their comments aged pretty well because they're like, we just don't think Biden can finish it. Like we don't think that he can even finish his current term.
Right.
And
bro, I think that shooting, that attempt to literally take him out with his head was like this very beyond the historic part of it. Like it was a very eye-opening part for the world to kind of see.
Yeah.
I think like.
But wait.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, before we get to that, the reason I brought that up was for the Canadian media,
right?
Because this lady, so I find out they're Trumpsters, and I'm kind of like expressing like I'm not
new transformed.
Yeah, reborn, and I was like kind of expressing. I was thinking, we'll find common ground on not liking Trump because they're wearing masks. I just made this judgment call. They probably hate Trump. And I was going off about the things I don't like about Trump because there's a pretty long list, to be honest.
Okay.
And so they're kind of like, yeah, we actually are going to vote for Trump. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Like,
that's crazy.
I didn't actually assume that. And then she goes on to tell me, she's like, I'm on the Sky. She tells me the story. She's on the Sky train or the bus or whatever in Vancouver. And someone, like, I guess they had an American flag on or whatever. Someone starts talking to them about American politics.
Right.
And I guess had a similar assumption as me and was like, oh, they're probably anti-Trumpers. And this other Canadian person, it was like a woman, she had said, was like, don't like ever vote for Trump. Like, I know that you won't vote for Trump because you seem like a smart person. And the American lady's like, no, I'm actually gonna vote for Trump.
Right.
And then the Canadian lady says, like, if you're going to vote, like, against freedom and democracy like that, then, like, you might as well not vote. And so the American lady's asking me, why do Canadians feel like they have the right to tell me how to vote in my own country?
Right.
And furthermore, why is everyone so anti-Trump here?
Right.
And I was like, well, you know how you have, like, CNN and Fox and all these different things? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, you know how that allows, like, kind of the right side and mostly the left side to voice their opinions.
Right.
And she's like, yeah.
Right.
And I was like, and people can choose to listen to Fox.
Right.
We don't have that equivalent here.
Right.
We just have the CBC, and it is owned and paid for by the government.
Right.
And so, like, there's only one idea that gets out.
Right.
And that's why people are so anti-Trump in Canada.
Right.
And I'm just trying to, like, I'm running her through this, and she's like, wait, you really only have one news broadcasting company? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. It's
state run.
We might not.
It's nuts.
There's like, there's the addition, there's Global and CTV, you know what I mean? That kind of, but they're pretty much the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like they stray off the
beaten path much. There's not, listen, journalism in Canada right now, at least on the professional, it's let's be honest, it's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. There's not a real journalist left. There is, but there aren't as many courageous real journalists. There is, I think. Thanks. There's. Have you heard of True North?
Yep.
Yeah, True North. Like, I don't know where they're based out of, but like they seem to be fairly, like fair-minded.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're like lean towards any direction. Most of their attempts to try to explain things in terms of what the left is doing, give a conservative perspective, it almost seems like it comes from an apologetic tone, but that's like the tone in this country right now, man. I think people are very, very afraid to say a lot of things. It's kind of like where I think Canada is at where the States was, I say, like between 2016 and 2020.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people are like wanting to say some stuff, but they're still very, you had those never Trumpers, and it was a very popular thing to hate Donald Trump and say whatever the hell you want about the guy. Like, people are comparing him literally to Hitler, and it's like a normal thing. You know what I mean? Like, that guy actually killed, as far as we know, double digits in the millions. You know what I mean? Like 12, half of them almost half of them were Jews, and people just go out and they just say, yeah, this guy is like Hitler. There is no factual relevance to it. You just say it. Most people who call him a fascist or just throw that word around, if you ask them, like, what is fascism? I don't even know if they can tell you what fascism is. They just heard it's the F word in the political space is bad, and if it's bad, it's got to be with the orange man. So, and that's been running like freaking wild up here in this country. But even now, I really think that, the average person's starting to see through. The last, 10 days has been like this, I really think it's really kind of opened up a lot of eyes, because it's just, you're seeing the side that's saying, no violence, no violence, no violence, and then violence.
Yeah.
They'll tell you words are violence, but a bullet.
Dude, that in and of itself is funny, because the whole idea of comparing him to Hitler and if you actually genuinely believe someone is Hitler, would you not be like, yeah, you should fucking kill him?
Well, that's what they're trying to explain away in terms of the shooter. Like, they're saying, you say that stuff enough, somebody probably felt heroic enough to step up and be like, "Oh, I'm going to take Hitler."
No, I'm just saying, all these politicians and everyone in the news,
right?
That's now you saw Biden and Kamala were saying oh, Biden had to call Trump, and they were all Hillary was wishing him a speedy recovery, all of these things.
All bullshit.
And it's like, wait, weren't you guys actually calling him Hitler?
Right.
And so what's the argument?
Right. No
kidding.
Do
you wish Hitler a speedy recovery,
right.
or do you want him dead?
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's a very good point.
Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
It's are you guys all in cahoots together and you wish him well?
Why?
Or do you actually think he's Hitler, and do you actually think he should die? Because all of us, there's always been that question. If you had a time machine, would you go back and kill Hitler? It's the only question is when do you do it? Do you do it as a baby?
Or how do you do it?
Do you do it as a young kid? Do you have to do it as a teenager just as he hits 18?
How would you do it? I would do it the baby. I'd go the baby way and just kind of do the Moses thing and just send it down a river and
right.
let it take care of itself.
You wouldn't ironically abort him before he gets... Yikes.
That'd be a little easier.
Yeah, I saw...
I forget that was an option back then.
Yeah, you could have in the Weimar, but I think... I saw this meme before we pass off the a nice segue off this topic is I saw this meme today where it was everyone knew that Biden couldn't make it full term, and so the Democrats had to abort him.
Right. Well, I mean...
Sorry, I made me laugh my ass off. It did clearly have the same effect for you.
No.
Maybe I didn't deliver it as well as the meme.
No, man. With meme culture is those memes sometimes, you really also have to see it at the right time. You know what I mean? You're kind of... Sometimes you're just kind of already... it's kind of in the primordial soup of it. It's ready to go. All the ingredients are there. But
you start your vehicle, you check your phone one last time, and you're like, oh, shit, abortion joke on a meme? Let's go.
I've never really found a lot of abortion jokes to be funny, to be honest.
But the one about aborting Biden before he hits full term, that's pretty good.
Okay, yeah. See, the reason why I didn't chuckle right away is I told you I'm slow, man. When you said he didn't go full term, okay, I get it now.
You get it now?
I just thought I did.
Right before he hits his full term?
Now I get it. Now I get it. At first I didn't. That's why you probably didn't get that.
All right, that's one score for you on the idiot count.
I'll take
by
it.
the end of the episode.
You can put 2, but hey, so can we have a rule if you say something smart, you kind of get that one?
Yeah, you cancel it out. Right. I will say I think I'm at a. I'd say I think I'm at a 1 as well for not knowing the definition of a word I used.
No, I think you came pretty close. I wouldn't give it to you, but if you want to take it,
I'll take a 0.5. We'll do 0.5 and 1 right now.
Okay, so.
But the Trump shooting.
1 for the supremacist.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hold on. Let's dive into that for a sec, okay?
Okay.
For real. What do you think? What do you think is really going? From your perspective, what do you think is going on with that?
Well, to reuse a joke that I just had in my last podcast episode, I think it's probably not unprecedented that a 3-letter agency has somehow inspired a lone gunman to take a shot at a president. I don't think that's the first time.
Right.
I think it's kind of it's
So
like a
you're-
callback.
So you're going typical, Mark conspiracy.
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. I mean, do you see the book? If you look right behind you,
Right.
there's a Charles Manson CIA connection book right there. The MK
No
Ultra.
no kidding, man. Yo, the man's real.
Yeah.
But but is it not actually crazy that people would kind of associate that with like you saying that it's not crazy that a 3-letter agency would somehow influence someone to take a shot for them. That's conspiracy. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's conspiracy talk, bro. What are
it's
you
really,
talking about?
It's honestly really, it's really honestly simple.
Take off your tinfoil hat.
No, it's really honestly simple. It is very, very simple. I'll tell you. It doesn't even involve, doesn't need to involve. It probably does, but it doesn't need to involve MK Ultra.
Right.
It doesn't need to involve any psychedelics. It honestly is as simple as taking it's the exact same manipulation that gets people on the other side of the world to blow themselves up at 17, 18 years old.
Right.
You go to a 17, 18-year-old kid and you're like, hey, the world's pretty chaotic, the country's pretty chaotic, right?
Right.
Assume we're American in the US. The conversation just goes like, hey, look, like you can see democracy's on the ballot, right? Yeah.
Right.
Well, random guy I found in a Reddit chat room.
Right.
How would you like to be an American hero?
Right. Right.
What's stopping you?
Right.
The funds?
Right.
I could help you out with that.
Right.
I actually have a team going already. We're just looking for a young frontman.
Right. So you're saying,
Like how easy is it to convince a 17, 18-year-old man, maybe, hopefully full of testosterone? We could hope.
mm-hmm.
Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
How hard
he
it would.
was able to climb the ladder, so
Sure.
I think there's
How hard would it be to convince a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid that was in a BlackRock commercial last year?
Right.
Do you want to be an American hero?
Right.
Do you want to actually save the country?
Right.
You could be a fucking hero.
I don't think that sounds far-fetched. If anything, I think that's kind of like what actually happened. But the question is, so you're going off base with the official story so far at this point.
Is that I don't know what the official story
so far
is.
So what you said right now, if you listen to mainstream, you would be called somewhat of a conspiracy. Like you're going down the conspiracy road. As you'll immediately be
Par
called
for
that
the
up,
course.
right? Because the idea is that like we don't know what's going on just yet, and so far the real story that they have so far is that there was a lone shooter,
Right.
and it was a lone shooter combined with catastrophic operational deficiencies and a bunch of catastrophic errors made by the most elite security team in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And things like they were understaffed that day. Trump's original detail was not there. There was, I think, like 5 or 6 substitutions. And the Secret Service for that particular event was already short-staffed, so they had to kind of contract out the local police force to help them out. And that police force is already small. Apparently, it only contains like 20 or 15 to 20 police officers for the town. So they were like really stretched thin with their security detail, and that's why they're saying a bunch of series of events, just one after the other, that would lead up to this point where it's just so many errors that this person slipped right through the cracks and got the best line of sight
Possible.
Right. 150 yards. Apparently, I'm not a huge shooter. I've shot guns before, but I think you probably have more understanding between rifles and stuff. But apparently, from where that guy was sitting, this in the line of sight and how close he was with that rifle, that was for people who shoot, it was almost like a T-ball.
Yeah, yeah.
It was that wasn't a terribly difficult shot to make.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going after let's be honest here, the most popular political face on planet Earth right now.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, arguable. I think for sure if someone's experienced, they're making that shot.
Yeah.
I don't know what the caliber was. I don't know. Like I said, I'd like to be able to just plead ignorant and that I only know 5 posts that I've seen on Instagram so far. I have tried to divorce myself from this type of stuff, but I just keep hearing about it. But I could see maybe first time, if that's like within your first 5 times pulling the trigger on a gun, you might miss it.
Yeah, well, this guy was part of a shooting club. He was like, he'd go and practice.
Yeah,
and he's
then
been
no.
shooting for years.
Yeah, 150 yards is
Yeah.
you're probably hitting that.
Well, he hit him. Let's be honest. He did hit him. Like, they had an image of Trump's head, like if he was looking forward in that scope, and then when he turned to the right.
Yeah,
when he was looking forward, like he was right on point.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's crazy though. It's crazy. Do you remember when you heard it? Like when it was going down?
I was I was having dinner with my family and I laughed. I literally laughed. The first thing I was like, I cannot wait for media coverage of this. This is going to be hilarious. Like, this is insane. Because I've always, I don't know if we talked about this the last time you were here. I thought they were going to do it by plane. I was fully bought into the Boeing conspiracy. I still think it's a possibility.
Well, the thing is, Trump flies his own plane. He's had his own plane for a long time.
Yeah, but what kind of plane is it?
It is but it's a Boeing. It's a Boeing plane that I don't even think Boeing makes anymore.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if somehow it got compromised and came down, the precedent has been set. Oh,
right.
But of course, like a Boeing plane, of course.
Right,
Haven't you seen all the whistleblowers talking about how their quality's terrible?
Yes,
you know
but
what I mean. So like someone could easily
Trump's plane. I think the plane that he's had it since like 2000, since the late 90s or
right.
so.
You don't think there's any chance anyone could tamper with it?
There's definitely a chance someone could tamper with it, but I don't think it has any sort of structural issues that these new 737 MAX are coming out.
No, dude. You're not understanding. I'm not saying that it would have those issues.
Right.
I'm saying, if somebody were motivated to get rid of them, they could tamper with the plane, and then the public would be like, oh, yeah, those planes come down all the time. It's a Boeing.
Well, yeah,
you get what I'm saying? Like it's like the predictive programming of like.
I can totally see where plane crash would be that's you. By the way, I think that's
they just did it in Russia.
That's a very common use one around the world.
They just did it in Russia.
Not just in Russia. The Iranian had the president there. His helicopter crash. It's a very easy one to kind of play off.
Kobe.
Yeah, because it's hard to kind of it's very it's very difficult to kind of investigate all that and find the true answer. So you're right, but I do think. You know what
it's like the show Lost.
Right. But I think that one of the reasons why it's a bit of a challenge to do that for Trump, number one, like the fact that he has his own plane, but Trump is I don't think people realize how much support he actually does have in the country. There's a lot of silent people, and I do think he does have a lot of protection.
Californians.
He's not an idiot. You know what I mean? He's not an idiot. You know what I mean? I think he's not naive to the fact that there are people that are after him. You know what I mean? With his, so I think they would totally go about it. They would totally go about this way, and he generally travels over, much around the United States, not globally, and you can't just shoot down a plane over the States. There's just too much radar, too much.
Yeah, I don't think they would shoot it down. I think they legitimately would like tamper with landing gear or tamper with some sort of engine thing.
See, now that would be very difficult to pull
tamper
off.
With something, like somehow fuck the plane up.
Right, that would be
that it crashes.
That would be difficult to pull off.
The public,
you're good.
And then the public would just be like, yeah, it's fucking normal, the Boeing planes always come down.
I do think it's an easy one to explain away. But do you know why I don't think they did that? Number one is because it is more difficult to pull off because all the maintenance, aviation is in a way where just you have to keep records. Every piece of maintenance. I think it would be easy to come trace back to, especially if Trump dies. Everybody, and I think whoever it is, because remind me, I want to add a couple details towards the after this that just came out yesterday that were strong, pretty crazy news about the assassination. But I'll tell you, most of the people that I think that are after Trump, they know that once that they were going to do this, they knew that there was going to be massive investigations, like a giant microscope.
I don't know, man. I feel like it would be like a Lee Harvey Oswald type thing. They just take the shooter, he gets the kill, and then they kill the shooter the next day with some other lone gunman. Case closed. But that's psychos.
What I mean. That's what I mean. So if you go the gunman route, it's easier because I think the thing that they're most pissed off about is they cannot believe that they missed.
Yeah.
Because if he was dead, none of these questions would be coming up right now. The world would be in absolute chaos. I don't think people appreciate how close the world came to war, like serious war. You know what I mean?
I think we're already there.
No, I don't. Not there yet, because I think people, like, especially here in Canada and the States, they cannot appreciate like real war. You know what I mean? We have not
Yeah.
seen real war on this side of the country.
No,
we
no,
just got
no.
perpetrated overseas. And
Yeah, I honestly just still think that the Cold War of the '60s has been extended until just now. Like,
right. But I think if let's say if Trump did get that bullet straight to his head, there is a strong possibility that we could have been seeing down in the States military splits happening between states across the country and certain people going to Washington. You know what I mean? And we're talking bullets flying, and it's amongst, like, we haven't seen this since 1700s in the States. You know, like an actual civil war.
Yeah.
And when people don't, if that does take place here in Canada, they're about like 70% of our economy in terms of trade.
Yeah.
And if the U.S. is not buying for us, then Canada, we immediately sink into a giant depression. Soup kitchens and like, the world was going to change very, very drastic. And the thing is when you start to go into economic issues like that, the crime rates go up even higher up here.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
dude, yeah.
So that's what I mean by actual chaos, and that we could have slipped into that within weeks. And it's amazing to me that, like, even after COVID, where we just saw overnight, like, just your entire reality shift, that people still think that is still far away. Like, nah, not here. Like, that is totally feasible.
Yeah.
And I genuinely do think that was their actual plan.
Yeah.
That was the plan. They were going to shoot Trump. It would have been all chaos. They would have blamed it on a particular type, and they knew that they were going to have people after them and then accuse them of being, you know, the typical lines that they use: supremacist, white supremacist, racist, blah, 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 and create this hyper division because everyone's so emotionally charged, right? So, but they didn't, and I think they were just absolutely gobsmacked, like, could not believe that they missed. They could not believe that they missed. In my opinion of it, in terms of the missing aspect, I do think there's got to have been some sort of intervention. You know what I mean? Some divine intervention. Like, you'd almost look at it like an angel just kind of flew right by at that point and just did that with his head.
Yeah.
Just because of the timing, speed of the bullet, and just doing one of these. And
It sure looks like that. That's
right?
for sure, man. Yeah, dude. I think it's crazy, dude. I think I will say you can have my water, by the way, because I spilled yours. That's party foul on my end. But
we're gonna add a point to that.
Yeah, that'll be
1.5.
That's 1.5 to 1.
Mark is in the lead.
I will say, honestly, you sound really smart there. Although I don't know.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you'd be far fetched to convince me that divine intervention, like the Lord came and saved him.
Right.
But I will say,
why?
I just I don't think that's I don't think that's the way that God works, man. But
no,
no, I don't.
So you do think that it was just an actual probability, like the way it went down, like it was just a probability. It was a math probability that took place.
I don't think that we will ever grasp what took place. I honestly think, but
from an objective perspective,
I think
that's an objective question.
Yeah, I think it's probably an inexperienced shooter and extremely crazy luck. And I think that look, I mean, he's not even the first. Like, it's not the first failed assassination attempt.
No, but it's the first assassination attempt to go down like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, because Reagan got shot in, like, the rib or something like that. You know,
well,
like,
he did have somebody that actually took a bullet for him. The guy who took the bullet survives.
No, I know.
And then...
But there was, like, how many failed assassination attempts on Hitler?
Right,
like, all of these different, you know, like,
100%.
There's, and honestly, man, I think it was crazy fluke, probably as well, inexperienced shooter, like a young kid.
I think there's been attempts on Trump's life already that we just don't know about.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% think that, like poisoning and different, tons of different things.
Right.
But I think all in all, it is a weird. It's undeniable that his coolness factor went up a lot.
Right.
He looks fucking cool now, regardless.
Bro, the man looks like a legend, is he not?
Yeah, he literally looks really fucking cool now.
Right.
Like, that's undeniable at this point.
But he is, isn't he? Or is it just a look, you think?
I think, well...
Because you were saying you have a lot of criticisms of him.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear some of those.
Well, I don't think he drained the swamp as well as he should have.
Right.
I think that he... I think him and Musk are kind of like these weird false idols that people on the right tend to look towards, but they kind of realize, or they'll take the 90% of the things that they agree with,
Right.
and then they use that to dismiss the objective evilness within them, which is like I would say respectively Donald Trump and Elon Musk. One of them is behind Project Warp Speed and pushing vaccinations,
Right.
talking about how Fauci's doing a great job at the end of his term,
Right.
those types of things. With Musk, there's like he's the free speech guy. He's also trying to chip people's brains.
Right.
So it's like I think that a lot of people kind of get duped by those things.
Right.
I think that, I just think the one thing I will say that has,
I have a question.
yeah.
You mind? Or
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
want to finish
No,
that
no,
thought?
go ahead.
My question would be then, the idea of them being false idols on like between Trump and Elon. I'll stick it to Trump. Becoming a false idol. How is that a criticism of him?
I'm not saying that that's like my criticism with him is the things that I just stated.
I see. Okay.
I just think
Yeah,
that
'cause-
it's just like I don't really like to back anybody that's
Right.
praising Fauci. I don't like to back anybody that is behind Project Warp Speed and still to this day talks about how great of a job he did with the vaccine.
Right.
He claims that's his vaccine.
Right.
Like if he comes out and is like, it was all a fuck up and
Right.
I completely fucked up and misled everybody and led these crazy vaccine movements,
Right.
push towards that instead of, there was talks of like other medication that he was talking about that were getting shut down.
Right.
But it's like you at the time had the power to be like, no, we're not mandating shit. We're going to fucking go with like throw the kitchen sink approach and like we'll to take any medications, those types of things. I think those are pretty substantial criticisms, but honestly, like I'm not trying to say like he's obviously a better choice than anybody that the Democratic Party will come.
Right.
with.
Right.
Like,
No, 100%.
If given the choice between anybody else, I don't see a better.
Right. Yeah, I'll say 100%. There is nobody on that blue side. If you even, I know there's people who think that, even between Trump and Biden, there's no difference. They're both the same. It's going to be the same old system, blah, blah, blah. But I think those are people that generally don't like to participate in the system. You know what I mean? They're kind of like living their own life.
Yeah.
But
I think objectively Trump is better than Biden.
100%.
There's no argument that anybody that would make that argument, I'd be curious just to see where their head's at because I couldn't fathom.
Right. Same. But I would say just a little pushback on the vaccine stuff. I've heard that one before, but like as a giant criticism on Trump, that he could have done this, didn't drain the swamp and whatnot. I don't think they are. I don't think they're invalid criticisms, but I think there's certain things to consider within the context of the presidency. Right? There's 4 years you're in office. The one thing that people have to realize, prior to COVID, like people say, oh, he didn't drain the swamp. Prior to COVID, when Trump came in, they made life living hell for this man inside office.
Yeah.
Not just with the media. The media part was like very, very obvious of it.
Mm-hmm.
But within the working confines of the White House, you're talking about people who were, infiltrated into his team, pretend to be one thing, and then just go in behind his back and sabotage other things. So
Yep.
he was working with a lot. You know what I mean? Like to even navigate through that, he was an inexperienced politician. And I've even in some of his own interviews, he explained like how Washington he thought was more vicious than the real estate game,
Stock exchange.
Yeah, stock down in New York because there's some level of like, kind of you shake a man's hand. Like in the business world, there's some level of respect to that. That's still respected in the marketplace. But in Washington, he said it just doesn't exist. Everyone was two-faced. So I think he was working with a lot. And during COVID, I mean, you can say that COVID was outside of that fact actually it happened. Like once it did happen, they used that entire thing against that dude. You know what I mean? As if he was the reason why people were dying in the streets and yada yada. And it was just absolutely insane to see.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge Trump guy, not because of all policy or whatnot, but as a man, as a character. I think you take a look at and I know some people will hear this and they'll just be like, oh my God, how can you say that about Trump? Like character, you know what I mean? But those people I think have been misled, you know what I mean? But because I've seen enough of his speeches and talks, and even like there's a consistency about him. That alone is pretty, I think, is a thing to watch for. Consistency and character, I think, is a good thing over time. Because it means you have some sort of principles, and that's where your decision making comes to. And number two is his ability to endure what he had to go through. You know what I mean? Even right now with this shooting, a lot of people, you could say that, that this is a moment that you could utilize to completely inflame the situation down south. Everything that they've accused this man of being, he could take this moment and actually become that. You know what I mean? But he still hasn't. He's gone the opposite way. Even the rhetoric and all that stuff, the talk, he actually completely toned it down. And he's become, I think he shocked a lot of people with some of his, but they're only shocked because they've been misled down the wrong path in terms of his perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's my take on Trump. I respect the man and his ability to endure and stay, and just fight. Literally the word that he used, like the man is relentless.
Yeah.
The man is absolutely relentless.
Yeah.
You have to be able to respect that. Even if you don't like him, if you're on the opposite aisle of the political perspective, the ability to be that relentless and continue, like as a warrior, if you're a warrior on the other side, back in the day, you would even have respect for your opponent,
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, one of the biggest redeeming qualities about him is that he's like the only politician whose main source of income isn't being a politician.
Right. Well, he's donated his entire salary from the thing.
No, but I think it's an even stronger argument because you think about how he makes all of his money.
Right.
And you think, okay, he owns casinos, hotels, restaurants,
right.
all of the income streams that he has for the most part, other than real estate, etc.,
right.
is like people in America need to have money for him to make money.
Right.
And so he's incentivized to make the middle class larger.
Very good point.
Boost consumerism.
100%.
Allow people to buy things so he can make money.
100%.
That's how his empire runs.
Right, but he only
Whereas
cares about
everybody else is making their fucking money based off of insider trading in the stock market, being in cahoots with corporations, getting inside information, and then being able to bet on the stocks.
Right. Which leads me, did you know there's a list out there right now? I haven't seen it, but there's a list out there of names that 10 days prior to the assassination began to put their names on giant shorts of the Trump stock, of Truth Social. Like 10, 15 of these, like, you're talking serious names now. I don't know exactly the names, but they began to short the Trump stock. About a week prior to the assassination attempt.
Yeah.
What kind of information did they have? You know what I mean? Like, why would you, all of a sudden, like 8 days before, simultaneously a bunch of them start shorting the stock? You know what I
don't
mean?
know. I barely know what shorting a stock is.
Oh, okay. So,
I only learned about it through GameStop.
okay. Wait, did you ever see that movie, The Big Short?
I was too young.
Okay.
I didn't understand
it. Okay. Well, basically what it's in layman's English, not like I'm some sort of expert, but like in just layman terms,
it's just dropping the value of it right before.
No, so when you invest in a stock, it's like you're kind of betting on it, right? It's kind of like betting on a sport.
Yeah.
You either put money down that I'm betting that this team will win, but shorting it is like I'm betting that this team will lose, and if they lose, then you make your money.
Right. And that's how Never mind. I don't actually know.
Yeah. So, but the only thing is like if you short a stock, the risk is higher for you because if it goes all the way to zero, if it actually does well and you're wrong about it, your losses are unlimited. So you could go bankrupt. You know what I mean? At least when you know there's a certain amount of limit to what a company can drop. But if you short them and they go the opposite route and they just continue growing, you can go bankrupt. And that was the whole issue with the GameStop thing.
Right.
The stock started to go up and these big time dudes who had decided to short it, they were starting to lose serious money.
So everyone was buying so that the value would increase.
Exactly. It was literally like a bunch of small people, not small people, but a bunch of just regular folks putting in money into GameStop, and the people who were losing were all the Wall Street dudes.
Right.
Just these hedge fund managers, and they were the ones losing. So it turned into like this Robin Hood kind of, that's why the story grew big. But that's what they basically did. A bunch of these guys stepped on and put a bunch of money down, shorting against the Truth Social stock, which is Donald Trump. He's the face of the company. If he's out of it, that company's done.
Right.
So all of a sudden, you got 10, 15 names within 5 to 10 days put millions of dollars down that this company's all of a sudden going to crash,
Yeah.
you know? And then 5 days later, the face of the company, the reason why it exists, gets a bullet to the side of his face.
Right.
Right. So there's a lot of things that's kind of floating around there.
I
right?
get you.
So if people were looking for clues, who's kind of involved or what are the big I mean, it'd be impossible. I think the possibility this alone.
Could you Google a list of the names?
I haven't seen the list. It's private. Well, somebody said like the list. They were like, they feel like the list. That list is almost identical to the Epstein list.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
It would be. That would be their assumption.
Right.
So,
I think. Nah, man, couldn't be.
Finish these napkins today, bro. This is awesome. Go on, dude.
Nah, man, there's probably no funny business there. It probably is.
It was a lone shooter, bro.
Yeah, it probably was a very motivated. What are they saying? Is he a right wing or a left wing? He's obviously a right wing.
He's a registered Republican,
Right.
Isn't he? Well, meaning he donated $15 once to be able to vote.
When was that?
I have
Before or after the BlackRock commercial?
Probably after. It was actually recent. It was recent, but I think he was.
He was probably. You know what? He was probably donating the money, hoping it would help get Donald Trump there, so that he could shoot him. No, that's not reasonable.
No, but listen. This is a classic media play where they're just. It's kind of like when you just throw something to a dog to distract them so they run off. This is what they're doing to people right now.
Right.
Here's the truth. Who cares who this guy was?
Right.
Who absolutely cares who he was? He was
You
one
don't?
shoot. It doesn't. I don't care.
You're not interested.
Zero fucks. Zero fucks about who the shooter was. There are only the only questions that matter is how did this guy get that close? That's the
Don't
only
you
question
think
that
that
matters.
that's part of it? Like the thing is, that's like saying like, who cares about Lee Harvey Oswald? It's like, well, Lee Harvey Oswald's important because he shines a light on MK Ultra, shines a light on the CIA manipulating regular citizens to do dirty work that they're they're programming them to do.
Right.
Like it is kind of worth it to look at that.
I
no?
think these individuals, what they do is quite to the contrary. When you focus on them, they actually take away from all those major questions. Because it's like right now, people are they're trying to do a deep dive on a dead guy who can't ask any questions to confirm anything.
Right.
Right there, but there's a whole bunch of people that are alive that should be answering questions right now. But everyone's zoomed in on this one character as if he's a lone shooter,
Yeah.
and what it does, it prevents the real questions. If there is MK Ultra involved, this guy's going to be the answer. He's gone. We don't know. Same with the Lee Harvey Oswald situation. You know what I mean? The man is dead.
Like, can't they just use Patriot Act, comb his fucking text messages, and see the CIA?
They absolutely can, but they've already said that for some reason they can't get into his phone.
Why?
They said it's too hard.
That's the one fucking encrypted line in the entire country.
You see what I mean? Like the bullshit that comes out, you just have to kind of sit there and take it.
Is it Julian Assange's phone?
But they found all of his stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Bro,
what? How you
everyone knows
how
the
you
NSA
fucking?
Listen, the NSA. There was a movie about this. How the NSA can literally watch anybody's phone and they know exactly what you're doing and what you're saying. Except for
this
Mr.
kid.
Cook or whatever his name is.
Crook. Dude, his last name is literally Crooks.
And his mom. Did you know this guy's mom called the police 3 hours earlier saying, "Hey, my son's missing. He's a bit deranged."
I thought it was the dad. The
Or
dad
somebody.
put out a statement saying like
No.
the son and the rifle were missing or something.
Yeah,
A
but
couple hours later. Or?
not just a statement. They called the local police. They're like, "Our son's a little deranged and he's missing with our rifle," like
Good.
hours before.
Right.
And then there's video of him walking around scoping out the spot.
I heard he showed up with a ladder.
Yeah, that's how he got on the roof. You know,
I did.
this
hear,
is
though,
all within the perimeter.
I will say I did hear though, and I will attest to this. If you show up, like coming from somebody who works in construction,
Right.
If you show up with a high vis vest and a ladder,
But he didn't have those.
you can literally walk
anywhere. Yeah, I've seen these videos of guys like walking into games and for
Yeah.
free. There's
Dude, if you have a yellow hard hat too, steel toes,
right, yeah,
you're
there's
undeniable.
remember
Your
that
maintenance.
remember that Floyd fight in Mayweather Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao was like the biggest fight at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a dude on YouTube who went around and just kind of did the same thing, got into the entire fight for free. And then when the fight was over, he recorded himself making his way onto the ring like part of one of the team's crews. And took
Unreal.
pictures. You know, it is possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're totally right. But this guy wasn't wearing a vest. He actually, everyone
But the
said...
ladder,
everyone-
ladder is pretty.
Well, everyone said he looked suspicious. There was like tens of eyewitness accounts before apparently saying like, hey, there was this dude's looking a little odd. But in all fairness, apparently like that's not an uncommon thing where someone gets reported suspicious in these events. Right. That's not an uncommon thing. But what
I
is
mean, yeah,
but what is uncommon is that when those reports do come in, what they do is they delay the principal, which in this case the principal person to protect, which is Trump. They delay him coming out onto the stage by 10 to 15 minutes before he gets scoped out. There was no scope. And the one big detail that people have left out is that there was no advance done on this situation. Like, there wasn't no serious advance done. Meaning, like, there's this huge, like, you come a day or two ahead of the, event, and the security detail kind of scope it out, which they did. But I heard this report, like, there's this, the day before, and a bunch of people were, like, substituted out and moved to another one. So there was, like, you had a team that wasn't really, they were just getting to know each other that day. All these odd
They hadn't
things.
amalgamated yet.
Bro, you know what? 2 points for that one. That word is really giant redeeming quality.
thank
It's
you,
come
sir.
It's come through ahead of the
Thank
game.
you, sir.
Okay. What is it? 2.5 versus 1?
I think I'm still a bigger idiot right now. But
Well, you're ahead of the lead. You're ahead of the game. But no, I was just saying, just to close up on that. I forgot what I was saying. I lost my train of thought.
no, you were talking about, it's just, it was a freshly blended team. We hadn't
Actually,
had time
let's talk
to,
about this because this is fun. Where the DEI and all this inclusivity stuff. So the Secret Service prior to this, I think when that lady took over, they put it part of their mission.
Who's
years
the
ago.
lady? I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
I'm
so
ignorant to it.
The head of the Secret Service. I forget her name, but something Cheatler or something. She
And she's a she.
Yeah.
She's a
she's a she. She
always been a she.
always been a she.
Okay.
She was part of the security.
Is that illegal to ask?
No?
Okay.
No, I think that's
10-4.
She was also part of the same security detail that protected like Dick Cheney and stuff. So she's been in the game,
Right.
In terms of like
On
so-
that hunting trip when he got shot?
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Well, he didn't get shot. He shot somebody
Oh, right.
in the face.
He did?
Yeah,
No.
it was actually one of his friends.
A vice president?
Yeah, he did. It was
Dick Cheney?
It was crazy. Yeah, Vice President Dick Cheney shot someone, and then the guy.
I don't think presidents and vice presidents can do crimes, though. They
No,
couldn't-
but he was on a hunting trip. It was by accident.
Right.
But the guy, what's
The
crazy?
glove didn't fit.
The guy who he shot, he came out and apologized for getting shot by the guy, basically.
As he should. Naturally. Fucking got in the way of his shot. I'm sure he was shooting at an animal and the guy fucking got in the way.
Absolutely. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He did the Trump thing.
Yeah. Scared the animal maybe and he's like, fuck you. Yeah.
Yeah, but this lady's been one of the missions is to try to make the force 30% female by the end of like 20 something.
Well, yeah.
And
What's wrong with that? Do you have an
Have you-
issue with that?
I do. I personally do.
I don't.
Yes, you do.
No.
Shut up.
No.
I'm not going to be the only one sitting here.
No. I like it. I think the police force should be 100% female.
Not police force. Not police force. The Secret Service.
I think both.
Well, that day, have you seen any of the footage? Like of the when they take him away and all that stuff?
No, the only footage I seen was the actual like bang 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 bang.
Right.
And then I saw the get down, and then I saw him go before he gets it. He goes, no, one more fucking bang, fight.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and then for
There's-
some reason I saw the thing where he had to go. He's like, I'm not leaving without my shoes.
That was the first thing he says. Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
But why did he not have his shoes on?
Because I guess when he fell and they all covered him, like his shoe must have went missing.
He doesn't tie his shoes, eh?
I imagine they're probably like, what do you call those? Loafers?
I call
Like
those
no-
my ninja slippers,
Okay.
honestly.
Well, people can't see. So what are those ninja slippers?
They look.
Are those called loafers? Loafers are shoes, like dress shoes with no...
Those are kind of like canvas loafer kind of slipper type things. You think he was wearing loafers?
Well, I would imagine he's wearing dress shoes with no laces. That's why they probably fell out.
Even then, man. I think even if
Have
I
you
was
ever-
wearing flip-flops, I don't think my...
No, but the thing, I'm not shocked that he asked for shoes because as a grown man, have you ever lost a shoe? Have you gotten into a fight? You like lose a shoe or anything like that?
I've never lost a shoe in a fight, no.
Have you ever lost a shoe, period?
I lost... you're going to like this story, actually.
Okay.
I'm really... That's a good question.
Okay,
I'm glad you asked
let's
about-
get your shoeless
Yeah.
story.
I went
forget
to a beach. Do you know Mud Bay?
No.
In Tawasin? Area?
Yes.
You know, Centennial Beach area?
Yes.
When I was a kid, I had just gotten water shoes, and I was walking around in the water there.
The hell are water shoes?
So they're like exactly what they sound like. They're like waterproof. Just picture those
Just
slippers.
waterproof shoes?
Yeah, but they've
Okay.
got like a rubber sole on the bottom, so if you step on rocks or shells or
Like
anything like
vesties.
yeah, but more like that, but just waterproof.
I see.
And
They
so I
sound
had
so cool water shoes.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
cool. It's like I think it was like early 2000s thing. I think you could still get them.
Right.
But I just got a fresh pair. I think I'm 6 years old, and I go out and I walk out. It's called Mud Bay for a reason.
Right.
And I'm like maybe shin deep in mud,
Right.
and my fucking dad goes and pulls me out, and it's kind of like
Right. Right.
and
Oh,
it
I
sucks
see.
the shoes
shoe has
right
a-
off my feet,
and
dude.
the
They're
shoes are
still
gone.
probably gone.
Oh,
they're
shit.
out there probably still.
Okay.
So I lost my shoes then.
Okay, so that's your only. And you were a child.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's different when you lose it as an adult.
Yeah.
It's very embarrassing. I've lost my shoe. I got a shoeless story.
In public.
Yes, I got a shoeless story.
Okay.
So this was years ago. I want to say like 2014. I went to Vegas. I was in Vegas, as a young man, early 20s. Not that I feel like I'm old now, but we went to. Have you ever been to Vegas?
Not since I was like 18. I've been
Okay.
there like 5 times, but all as a teenager.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I went there. I think it was like whatever. It was a while ago. We were out and we were at this place called Excess Nightclub. I think it's still there. Same one. It's like a pool party place.
Okay.
And we went out, and I was dressed like more to go to a club, but you get out there, it's like a pool party.
They love their phone parties, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a phone party, but there's a pool there.
Kind of vibe.
Yeah, and then I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but things got crazy. Like I got caught up in the moment, and I ended up like jumping in the pool. I had like jeans and a sweater on, right?
Right.
With shoes, and
A
people.
sweater in Vegas.
It was chilly. It wasn't a sweater. It was like a long sleeve shirt.
Right.
Yeah, just a one shirt. Make me sound like an idiot.
Sorry.
A score.
I don't even know where we're at anymore, so I
Yeah.
think that adds a point for me.
Right. But so we go out there, and I ended up jumping in the pool, right, and with my freaking like normal clothes. So I ended up just being in the pool with like I had to take it all off. So I left my shoes on the side. I left my shoes on the side. Basically, by when the morning came, like when everything was done, I shouldn't say morning. I was there, but I ended up like I didn't bring my wallet with me, so I didn't have all my ID. I think I left my wallet with a friend, so they were gone. I didn't have any cash. All my clothes were missing, and I couldn't find my shoes.
Where'd you wake up?
Oh, I didn't go to sleep. I just kind of like left my stuff on the side somewhere.
You just kept partying, and
Yeah.
and then the morning rolled around, and
It was around like 4. I remember
the music stopped.
No, the music was still going, but I did
that's
start.
even more depressing.
I did start to notice that it's
Were people having fun still?
a great time, bro. It's Vegas.
And you weren't having fun at that point?
No, as soon as I realized my shoes were missing, it became a crisis because now I had no money, no one to get a hold. Like I had no cash or anything on me, and I was at the opposite end of where our hotel was and where this hotel is. Literally the two polar opposites. So
Yeah.
I had to walk my ass up the Las Vegas Strip with just boxers. No shoes, no nothing.
You're kidding.
Not kidding.
That's not real.
I swear, I actually have a friend that walked it with me. He had shoes. But like
But how about pants?
he had clothes. He had like shorts and like normal He had his clothes left.
Did he give you a shirt at least? Like
Actually, that's a good idea. No, man.
because he
was
should have
selfish.
given you at least half his clothes, so you
No,
guys
I-
both could have.
I'm ashamed to admit this, but there was this bum who was asleep at the side on the side. And
I like where this goes.
and his shoes were there, and I
And
thought
you
about.
prison questioned him.
I thought about
Size of your shoes.
I thought about taking his shoes because he was asleep,
Right.
and I'm like, I could just take this guy's shoes. But then I saw the shoes, and I'm like, I think my feet are cleaner on the floor,
Yeah.
so I left those alone. But I remember my feet were throbbing. I was cold. Like and Vegas is a different time, but is a different that strip. It's a different strip between like 4 a.m. and like 6 a.m. because the street cleaners come out and to clean up the whole place. And what they do
Yeah.
is they're spraying like soapy stuff across the whole walkway. And I'm
Because the
basically
whole street is just covered in cum and throw up and piss and beer and.
it wasn't that dry. I wasn't in India.
Okay. It's just how I view Vegas. Sorry.
It wasn't that filthy. No,
Okay.
but the street was like walkable. I think
They just do a full cleanse of.
they
the
were
fucking-
cleaning it in the morning, man. It just
Yeah.
just like how we have street cleaners out here. Some
They
people
don't
might not
go
like it.
every morning.
No, but like once a week. But Vegas, they would do it every morning because it's a much busier place. But nonetheless,
Cummier
my
place.
Okay. My point is, it was like skating on ice because it was all soap, and it took about 3 hours to get back to the hotel room with all my stuff with no shoes. and I would have killed for a pair of shoes that day.
Yeah.
Or slippers. So I get why Trump was like, let me get my shoes, even though I'm about to die.
Yeah.
It's a guy.
I did get my flip-flops stolen one time at a beach, actually.
Yeah, that just sucks. It sucks, doesn't it? Because as soon as you get off the sand and you're walking,
yeah,
what do you feel like?
It sucks.
A bum.
Yeah, you feel homeless. You really do. You honestly really do.
Right?
And dude, how much did it suck when everyone was having fun and you were partying and everything was fucking fun, and then all of a sudden you had to be serious because you're like, oh, I have none of my things anymore. How much does it fucking suck when everyone's having fun and you just have to be serious?
It sucks a lot for me in particular because I'm like really hard on myself, and I basically go down this mental warp.
You get depressed.
Yeah, like I tell myself, you were like the biggest fucking idiot on planet Earth.
Yeah. You're like, anyone else would have just had a fun time, and of course I
figured
had to
their
fuck
shit
this
out.
up.
Yeah, and like it would have been fine, but like I know I'm the one lunatic, the one idiot that would do this. It was very like, it was a tough 3-hour walk in my head.
Yeah.
You know,
dude, I know. I've had moments like that. I had shoes still, but and pants.
Right.
And so it wasn't like that, but it was. I've had thoughts like that.
Right. But you know, after like when it was done, I was like, you know what? That's probably a pretty legit Vegas story.
Yeah.
So I'll take that badge because it is real, man. I have evidence. I have like people there witness that.
It would have been fucking funny too if the bum woke up. He's like, "Yo,
where are my shoes?
Do you want me?" No. He's like, he just wakes up while you're there, and he's like, "I actually feel bad for you. Like, do you want my shoes?" Like, I have pants, bro. Like, I actually feel bad for you, guy.
No kidding, man. That's when you know life is like you have to reflect on your life.
Yeah.
At that point, when a bum feels bad for you.
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, do you need shoes?" Or maybe he's like, "Hey, welcome to the club." He's like, "Post up with me, bro." You could have actually posted up with him and probably got some money. You could have made money that day.
We probably would have made more money with me there.
You could have made money that day.
Yeah, because he was white. I was a person of color with no clothes.
Could have filmed a commercial.
Right. Well, he actually looked like with a person of color with all the filth. Probably didn't even look like he showered.
Right.
So, yeah, that went down weird.
Are you trying to say that people with darker skin look dirtier?
No, he was white.
It just sounded like...
It did sound like that, but what I'm trying to say
Why
is
do you think it sounded like that? Anyways.
Just the way it came out. Because I'm thinking like his skin is kind of white, so the only way they would not be white if it was something was on top of his skin. And usually what's...
Like a tan?
Yeah. But he's not tanning. It was dirt. You can tell it was dirt.
You think he's just sat out there long enough to get tan? In the, I don't know, the
No,
desert
because
of Nevada?
No, I can tell the difference between like a tan and a burn. You know?
Okay.
Because you guys burn.
What do you mean, you guys?
You guys, as in white people, with no sunscreen, man. You guys all like start burning up. It's actually pretty funny to see. I'm not gonna lie.
You know, it's actually. I'll show you my back after this because I have a big splotch on the center of my back right now.
Is it because was it because of work? Like,
yeah.
Why would you take off your shirt?
Because I fucking like the feeling
of burning your back.
No, just working shirtless in the sun, dude. It's tropical feeling.
But you can't do that.
Why not?
Did you have sunscreen?
I don't wear that shit.
Okay, then you can't do that.
Dude, I can. I did it.
I know, but that's why you got... Well, I guess that's what I mean by you can't do... That's why you have a giant... What do you call it? A blotch?
Yeah, it basically what happened was I got very... this is dark for me. This is as dark as I really get.
I see.
And you can see, dude. Look at the contrast of my leg and my...
Right.
But...
yeah, I guess that's for us. Like, that's the one thing that brown people... That's like brown privilege. We can go to the sun...
Dude, my best buddy is brown, and he...
Don't tell me he burned.
He burns. He's half white, though.
It's the half white side.
It's half white.
Yeah, it's definitely the half white side.
He's half white.
But unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. Could have been a good one. But anyways, no, dude, I think it is definitely... I like the heat, dude. I like that shit. My skin definitely doesn't, but...
Come to Dubai with me.
Dude, I'd be so down.
Let's go. We'll do a show from out there, too. Why not?
Yeah?
Bring your stuff, 100%.
Do you think we can?
100%, why not? Do a show from out there?
No, I just mean, do you think you could get through the airport with that kind of stuff? Like electronics and of that degree?
Yeah. 100%. Dubai now is like, at least in that part of the region.
No, I mean here.
What do you mean?
Just a Middle Eastern joke,
to like
anyways.
get this stuff, through.
I don't know.
to
They
the
see someone like you come through with a lot of wires and cables, batteries.
Listen, that's no problem for me out there.
Yeah,
You
you
know
got to
what I mean?
get
I'm
there.
home. What?
You got to get there. You got to pass our security first.
I find getting out of here is not an issue with security because
They just let you out.
He's leaving. Let him take whatever he's got.
You don't think they care about the Canadian citizens on board?
I am a citizen.
Arguable.
I'm a patriot of this country.
Anyways. Anyways.
Oh, you mean like those other people on the plane? Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I think I'll be honest. That kind of that tone at the airport and stuff has really died down.
Yeah.
It's almost 20 years. You know what I mean? They had a good. I think they really milked that for about a decade to a decade and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
But as soon as Trump became president, it got all flipped, and you guys were the enemy.
Yeah, we really were.
It switched up real quick.
Dude, I accidentally went through the airport with some things that I shouldn't have gone through with, and
What's your gun? You white supremacist.
No. Just like an empty bullet casing and like little. It was like I had.
Dare you?
No, the thing is, it was nothing like big, but it was. I had my camping bag. I was going for a short trip, so I just used my camping bag as luggage, or as my carry-on.
Right.
And it had a knife and some bullet casings in it, and so the weird thing is, I got through, like you said,
Right.
and then it was coming back. They were like, "You you sure you don't have sharp objects in your bag, sir?" And I'm like, "No, I don't."
Right.
And they pull out a knife, and I go, "Okay, shit, yeah, sorry."
Yeah. Okay, I guess that's kind of sharp.
Yeah.
But did you know it was in there? No.
No, I didn't.
That's terrible.
I knew, like, instantly when he pulled it out. I was like, "Oh shit,
Right,
that's my knife."
Right.
But then I didn't know it was in there in the first place. I thought I had taken it out. But
I
then
see.
I was like, "Look, man, like."
Did they ask you if you packed your bag yourself? That was a very interesting question they started asking.
I don't remember.
Is it-
But I was like, "No, my buddy Hussain packed it for me."
I know now that like whenever they ask you that, they found something that they think you should be aware of.
Yeah.
So like, did you pack this yourself?
Oh yeah. No, they were like, what did they say? They were like, "Oh, if you want, you can go out to the parking lot and like put it in your car." Or something like that. And I was like, no, like my truck's in Vancouver. Like I have to get back home.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, did you want to give it to somebody here?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking know anyone here."
Right.
I was like, "Dude, I know you. You can have it." Like, fuck, I got to get on this flight. So
Right.
like whatever we have to do.
Right.
And I just left it with him.
Right. Yeah. It's strange. Some things are just not allowed. Like I had a 3-pound dumbbell with me on my trip. Just
Why?
to kind of dumbbell. I was just rehabbing my shoulder. Couldn't carry a lot of weight. So
Okay, you say that like it's a normal thing. I wouldn't take a dumbbell on a flight.
bro, you got a knife going through the airport.
By accident.
Well,
I didn't
just because
do
I
it
don't
on
mind
purpose.
consciously doesn't mean like a knife is more normal.
You brought a dumbbell on purpose on a flight.
Well, hey, that dumbbell made it with me all the way.
47 pounds you're allowed to have in your suitcase now.
Yeah, they ended up taking it from me when I finally got to Pakistan of all places. It was not allowed.
They didn't want those gains.
Yeah, it was not allowed. I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay.
They replace it with a 45-pound. They're like, it's actually too small.
No, man. Should we talk about Pakistan? Is an interesting place. Man.
I have no idea about it, but I'm down to get into it. But
I'll
before,
take you there. Sponsor message from the sponsor.
yeah. Before we get to that, I'd like to. I'm glad you said that. Actually, that's a really good segue. Message from the sponsor. No, I don't have any sponsors, obviously, but I was gonna
We
say
don't need any.
Yeah,
No one's gonna tell us what to say.
that's right, and they probably don't want to at this point. But
No.
no, I before we get off of the American politics, and I was gonna ask you as well what you think about it and how it relates to Canada and what you think it means for Canada. But before we do that or go anywhere else, I just wanted to say, like, I think that especially this year, like, it's just gonna get more and more intense as we wrap up and go into obviously November and when the presidential election is. And people can say it doesn't really matter, but obviously there's strong ties between Canada and the US, and what happens down there does deeply impact us.
Right.
And I personally feel like it's like a duty for us to like talk about this type of stuff, but also with the idea and the notion surrounding it of being like, it doesn't matter who's in the White House. It doesn't matter who's in the House of Parliament. It doesn't matter who's running what country or anything like that. Like the most important thing that we have to take care of and focus our energy and time on is what happens in our own homes. Like what happens with us, and pushing the message of like, this is going to be the year of division, of hatred, of anxiety, of fear, of social media, of inundation with just stress.
Right.
And I think that it's our duty to take it upon ourselves if we want to push our countries and ourselves forward of like, I'm going to need to fucking take care of myself this year.
100%. 100%. Yeah, listen, man, I don't know if you know it, but like I do take I've always taken an interest in politics. I don't know why. It was just, I really enjoy it. I actually, when I was a kid, when I was in like in grade 5 and grade 6, my dad would get we would get the Globe and Mail back in the day when you get newspapers.
Yeah.
I would read that thing for breakfast, literally. Like, I was in grade 6 and I found it very intriguing. I would read about like Globe and Mail politics and sometimes the sports section and stuff. And I've always had like an interest ever since like elementary in terms of like politics and political structure. So I was a bit of a weird nerdy kid that way in terms of history. So I always like to keep an ear out. You said something very interesting in the sense that like most people say, yeah, it doesn't matter. And then at the same time, you're like, you know, it doesn't matter because ultimately we have to kind of make sure that what's going on between our four walls is the most important thing. Yeah. And I agree with both of those statements, but there's a bridge in between. And that is that people have to understand that, you know, if you want to constantly look away and hope like eventually it'll just be taken care of, it eventually shows up to your door, whatever problem it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you have an opportunity to confront it, whatever it is, you know what I mean, outside of your home, that's the best place to begin.
Yeah.
And you are right. I think this is the year of division, but I can give you my theory on this is that I think that like the formula is this, okay? It's macro versus micro. Every individual operates the same way. And these people who utilize these forces to try to deliver an agenda and utilize populations and get them to do things for them so they can take over, they understand the individual much more than the individual probably understands themselves. Mm-hmm. So one of the best way collectively that a population can kind of genuinely provide serious pushback is get to know yourself. Understand yourself, see yourself so you can see yourself at least better than the enemy sees you, because believe it or not, I don't care who you are, the world is not all, gravy. There are adversaries out there. There is a light and a dark. You need to sink into your own light and get to know yourself, because if you don't, you become a vessel.
Yeah.
Right? You become a vessel for suffering.
Yeah.
You will suffer, and you will add on to the collective suffering that people are trying to bring about.
Yeah.
To give you, so you will accept whatever that they're wanting to push your way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's important on an individual level, get to know yourself. And I think that's why they're trying to kill, you can see this on a global scale, they're trying to kill national identity within each country. A national identity is imperative for a country because it leads to personal standards. You know what I mean? There's a collective vision that an entire nation looks towards. Mm-hmm. It's imperative. Right now, we don't have one in this country. Yeah. There is none. There's no pride in being Canadian. Go look outside. Yeah. None of that. When I grew up, there was some of that. Yeah. There was this pride about being Canadian and the values and principles that you have. And even when I was young, it makes you want to be a part of it through its excellence. Like, I don't want to just be some schlub. It helps you develop a personal identity, and you become an individual, and that's what our entire system is based off of. Once you become an adult, that's why you get a right to vote. You're a decent person. You've worked on yourself. And we need decent people voting, but that doesn't seem to be the case right now.
Yeah, it is funny. It is interesting because it's I feel like as well, like the whole idea of national pride and national identity is almost the onus I feel like is on us as the new generation, because I know like my grandpa, he had a flagpole. He had a Canadian flag on his house in Canada. He wasn't born here. He wasn't even like my mom moved to Canada when she was like 6 or 7. Right. So like her whole life basically was here, even though she's quote unquote an immigrant. Right. But like my grandpa grew up in another country. Right. Came here and flew the Canadian flag. He didn't fly the Danish flag. Right. He didn't, he was like, he's here, he's Canadian, and he put up a Canadian flag and flew it. Like he's like.
Yeah. I think that's I think it says something about you as an individual too, because it's a sign of respect. You know what I mean? It's like you even coming to my house. Let's say I invite you want to come to my house, and you just start doing your own shit. You know what I mean? Like your own, Lord knows what.
Yeah,
you know
cooking my own food in your kitchen.
No questions asked.
Wearing
Like
my shoes in your place.
Yeah, acting like you know what I mean. Like that's a very simple, rudimentary example, but that's on a micro level. But people can understand that. Like, yes, that shouldn't matter. That does matter. But as soon as we kind of scope out, it seems to be more and more acceptable on a grander scale because it doesn't personally touch us.
Mm-hmm.
But you let that run long enough, it will touch you, and it's starting to.
Yeah.
With the crime that's happening, people losing their children, like, you know what I mean? What's going on with the drug crisis? Free drugs. It's starting to touch people, and I think people are starting to realize it. And there will be a rise in masculinity in this country, and there will be a rise in patriotism in this country. Not in some far-right lunacy nonsense that they constantly try to push it as, but just as a genuine understanding amongst people where, hey, I want my community to not lose the standard of living that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Going backwards is actually a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have a child, the number one thing you want to do is you want them to live a better life than that you do.
Yeah.
That's one based off of, yes, I teach them principles and good, discipline that they go out there and be able to do this. But number two, you have to also contribute to the community you grow up in so that structure that was in place for you to get ahead is at least in place for them to utilize. Because if it isn't, I don't care how disciplined they are, how well you've raised them. But if they grow up in a country that's, ridden by crime and there's corruption everywhere, no one really gives a shit anymore about country and neighbor and all of that. Do you want your kids growing up with something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can. No, I don't, man. I was just gonna say the perfect thing that I was just thinking about is like, we just talked about it as you came up here. This year, I've been trying my best to start a garden, get a green grass growing, like everything like that.
Right,
there's some stuff that's successful out there, and there's some stuff that's not, and it's not like I was differently disciplined. With like, I watered this part, I watered that part.
Right.
These seeds got this or these seeds got that.
Right.
The difference between what's dead and what's alive is the fertile soil that it was grown in. It's like the grass isn't green out there.
Right.
Because it's just fucking sand.
Right.
But the vegetables and the fruits that I'm growing, all of those things, I went out and bought good soil.
Right.
I got fertile soil.
Right.
And so those things are growing.
Right. 100%.
Even though I watered them the exact same. I was disciplined the exact same with both things.
Right.
It's like some of it grew and some of it didn't. What's the difference? The fertile soil.
Where you put it in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And this is, I don't know what your take or opinion on Canada is in general, but like I honestly, I've seen parts of the world, you know what I mean? I've been around and I can wholeheartedly say this is one of the best places to live, period, on planet Earth.
Yeah.
On planet Earth. Even as bad
as move this closer.
Sorry. Even as bad as it is right now.
Yeah.
It's still one of the, which tells you how resilient as a place it is. You know what I mean? With the abuse that it's taken on in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
It's still one of the best places to live in terms of quality of life. It's a bit more challenging to make the basics ends meet these days, but it's still one of the better places. You know what I mean? And people need to recognize that because if this thing doesn't start to turn around, the reality that it might slip completely, it is there. It does exist. It's not like this far off, I don't know, like this esoteric idea. It is real. Like before COVID, how many people thought that we would be living in a place where if you didn't carry a particular card with you, you couldn't go to a restaurant prior to it happening?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it took place within months.
Yeah.
So when I saw that happen, I'm like, you can kind of now see the certain type of things that are falling into place that are making that possible to slip into complete chaos.
Do you think that moving forward, Canada's right wing even exists? I was going to ask if you even think that they have a chance, but do you think that there is a political right wing here anymore?
Yeah, definitely. There's a huge, big time. Not that, and I don't mean that. Even when people hear right wing, especially in Canada, they automatically it's almost like a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's
they think mega.
Yeah, it's actually a great thing. And no, there's a giant conservative movement in this country.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because people make this mistake that conservatism seems to be this generally white, generally Western Canada. But with what's happened in the last 4 years, that's not true. Like, history is beginning to repeat itself in the sense, what happened when Stephen Harper became prime minister is it kind of like the similar situation we're in right now. The Liberal government at the time was just infested with a bunch of scandals. They weren't running the budget properly. It was nowhere near as bad and ridiculous as it is right now. And the reason why they were in power is because this conservative movement was really it was very spread out. It wasn't united. There was one or two different parties, and then you have this guy come in, Stephen Harper. He unites the entire conservative movement into one party, highlights the corruption, and next thing you know, what people didn't even think was possible, conservatives get into a majority. And there's this nice fiscal run that the country has up until Trudeau becomes president in 2015. We are now back in that same situation where you're starting to see there's obviously rampant corruption in Ottawa right now. It's almost as bad as it probably is. We don't know because they hide so well, all the paperwork and whatnot, and they make it so difficult. Everything is redacted when they release. Redacted meaning like they can choose which parts are blacked out in emails and all that stuff. So it's crazy. But it's so corrupt. And the reason why I say it's so corrupt is because this is a rich country. People who like corruption like to come to rich countries where people who work, produce, and taxes are collected. So the amount of corruption that's been going on is third world. It's third world. The effects of that third world corruption in Ottawa has yet to kind of seep out to everybody here where it's third world lifestyle, but it's happening. It's happening. Take a look at all the homeless encampments in Toronto, Newfoundland, all the way out here in BC. When we were growing up, bro, I did not see, like, there were people who were struggling on drugs. I know it's not a great thing. They're going through hard times, but they were kind of like, the downtown east side.
Yeah, or there was like one or two guys begging for change at a Canucks game or something
You're seeing groups of them like out in New Westminster now.
Yeah.
Out in New West, out in Burnaby. Just like the population's clearly grown.
Yeah.
And nobody likes to ask why. We're just like, let's give them more drugs.
Yeah.
Let's give them more. Maybe let's get rid of the stigma.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any risk of like, because I like the thing is the whole like that side of it, the homeless encampments and the mental health crisis that's going on, I think that it's such a weird, I don't even know what the solution would be. I think everyone does kind of, and I always thought, honestly, like I was pretty staunchly like for the legalization and decriminalization of every single drug up until I saw the impacts of it. And then I was like, oh shit, I don't know, maybe it's like right plan, wrong time. Maybe it's like we're a little bit too far down the road.
I see.
I don't know what the answer is, but I just know that there's definitely got to be a huge change, and I know 100%. That what we're doing now isn't working. And at least, I remember like literally trying to convince Teddy like 2 or 3 years ago on a road trip of like, oh, but they did the whole legalization thing in Amsterdam, and they're going to do it in Portland. It was like right before they did it in Portland.
Or
in Oregon. And I was like, it's a good idea. Like I was definitely fully bought into it. I was, I've always been I haven't always been actually, but I just kind of think that anytime the government is in a position of telling another adult like what they can and can't put into their body or do or anything like that, that irritates me.
I see.
But
I see where that perspective comes from.
Just from like the libertarian perspective of like from one adult to another, you don't get to tell me what I put in my body. You don't get to tell me.
I want to do crack, I'm going to do crack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
agree with you.
If I want to smoke cigarettes, I'll smoke cigarettes. If I want to smoke weed, I'll smoke weed. If I want to, I don't think that that's the government's position to tell you what you can do with your own fucking body in your life.
100%.
But where I draw the line is like I also don't think that we should foot the bill for free drugs for people.
100%.
Like I've had to pay for mine my whole life.
What kind?
No, well, you know what I mean? Like it's just like kind 100%. Of like that's just 100%. My position on it. But I just kind of in the last couple, especially in the last year, I think I see like the growing distaste for the Liberal Party in Canada.
Right.
I even see a lot of people that have been forever Liberals in Canada that are like, we need a big change.
Right.
Trudeau's done.
My mom, she's been like a
Same with
liberal liberal
Yeah.
forever. She's like, I ain't doing it.
Yeah, same as my mom.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, but
Right.
I would assume as much.
Right.
I definitely think that everyone is unhappy with the current regime, but that kind of leads like my next concern, which is the same kind of thing I was thinking when he did that recall election
Right.
a couple years back.
Right.
Was this idea that the PPC and the Conservatives are now splitting the vote.
Right. Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So when he called that snap election, what they were trying to do was take advantage of the disunion within the conservative scene.
Yeah.
You had Aaron O'Toole, who wasn't really, grabbing the chains amongst his team, amongst the Conservative Party. They actually voted him out. They thought he ran a pretty weak campaign.
Well, he was trying to get a majority
they
riding because
Yeah.
he had a minority government.
Right. So they thought because there was disunity on the Conservative side, they were going to split the vote, so the Conservatives would lose seats, and Trudeau would have a chance to come in and get a majority government.
Mhm.
Because once you have a majority government, you have a longer term, and that's what.
And it's just easier to pass bills.
Right.
'cause
That's
you
what they
have-
really wanted to do. But what ended up happening is that didn't take place. The same people who were in government basically got reelected. It was kind of like back at stalemate, but they still got their longer term when they formed that coalition with Mr. Jagmeet Ding Dong Singh over there. So,
Yeah.
who is, by the way, the most pathetic human being in this country, in my opinion.
What's your number one reason why?
The man has no character, no integrity, is a bold-faced liar.
Can I tell you my number one reason why I don't like him?
It's
I
a
think you're
turban.
going to agree with it.
The turban.
No, I like the turban.
Okay.
There's I like that actually.
Okay.
The reason I don't like him, number one reason I don't like him.
I was only kidding, by the way, before anyone would take that seriously.
Yeah. I don't think anyone actually would take that seriously.
You never know, man. People are ready.
But no, the reason I don't like him is because, dude, get this. You're going to love this. I think you're going to have more distaste for this than I do.
Right.
He doesn't use his own last name. Singh's not his last name, right? Singh. Singh is it's like a middle name.
Right. All of them. From what I understand, it's a middle name that's carried by almost every Punjabi man.
Yeah.
Male. Yes.
But his last name,
Right.
he doesn't use.
Because.
His last name is Dhaliwal.
Right. Okay.
Super common.
Right.
But because of the caste system in India,
Mm-hmm.
they're seen as like his.
Right. I think they're upper.
He'd be the
higher
equivalent
up
of like the white male,
Right,
in
so
North
he's-
America.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
So he doesn't. It'd be like if I took on like I was just Mark Daniel. Why? Because Henriksen's like a white European name.
Right. I see. No, I will say.
Isn't that a fucking
I
bitch
can-
thing to do to not even use your own last name?
No. Okay, so I'll say this. No, because I understand the politics of it. You know what I mean?
I understand the politics
Right.
of it too. That's
But-
why it makes me upset.
I see.
Like,
I
what
see
are you
you're saying.
fucking
Right.
doing, dude?
I don't think it's because he's sort of ashamed of it or anything like that.
No, of
which is-
course not.
right.
It's just virtue signaling.
Right, because he
That's the
can't-
part where it's like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, going around. Dude, this guy, I remember that whole, there was that family that got run down in Ontario. This Muslim family got run down by a dude in Ontario, London, Ontario. Anyways, it took place during COVID. This guy got up in, the House of Commons and, he's like, Assalamu alaikum.
Nice.
It was just, it was so...
And did that reach you? Did that?
Right to my heart.
Right.
I actually wiped a tear.
Yeah, I
was
bet
like,
you did.
I'm gonna make dua for this man. I'm like, it's so pretentious. It's so and I think the people. Bold statement here, but I think people who fall for that right away, kind of shallow, hollow people.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because they kind of, you just connect on words. You know what I mean? It's kind of shallow, hollow people. But I think that man is the most pathetic person in this country right now.
You don't think? Okay.
Beyond Trudeau.
Okay, that
Trudeau.
was what I was going to say. But in regards to the Canadian right wing, do you think that there's a risk in the next election of the Conservative vote being split between the people that think that the Conservative, the actual big C Conservative Party,
Mm-hmm.
isn't conservative enough
Right.
for some people, so they go to the PPC,
Right.
and then the people that are like middle of the road
Right.
go to Conservative Party,
Right.
which splits the Conservative vote, arguably, maybe. I don't
Right.
know. I'm asking.
Right.
And then maybe
And then
Liberals
Trudeau
still get like
they have a
just over
pathway.
a third.
Right.
They have their pathway back to.
Right. No, actually, I think this was this was a bigger risk during the last election than it is now. I don't think that's a risk this time around at all. And for one reason, because of leadership. The leadership in the Conservative Party now is much more like a Stephen Harper type of presence, which is people trust. He's clear on his communication. People have seen. You know what I mean? And there's just a leadership quality about Poilievre that you can tell that he has. You know what I mean? There's like a leadership quality that he has. So he's kind of filled in. The last time the split kind of took place is because of weak leadership, which was Aaron O'Toole.
Yeah.
People were saying he had, and the reason was
he didn't stand up against the vax.
not just the vax. He was very ambiguous on his messaging with certain things. A conservative government does not like, generally speaking, does not like a lot of regulation. And with this whole climate change thing, he was very ambiguous. You know what I mean? He was trying to cater to both sides of the which is
He's very lukewarm.
Yeah, he was trying to be this progressive conservative, trying to include new people into the party, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work, and people were also politically charged at that time. People were paying attention to politics because it was touching their life.
Yeah.
So they knew that, okay, we need someone. Okay, this is not going to work. He's
like in fear of being canceled. He was just like not even strong enough to meet.
Right.
Yeah.
So what it did, it created a new group of people who were like, okay, yeah, we don't have anybody that actually represents Canadians for real.
Yeah.
And those people were generally seen as far right. You know, you call PPC. So Maxime Bernier is the guy who started that party, and I think that's what created it. But this time around, that's not going to be an issue because the last when the Conservative Party had their leadership race, Poilievre broke like records. I think they signed up like 300,000 to 400,000 new members just to vote for him, and he won that leadership race in an absolute landslide. I think it was like 70% of the vote. It wasn't even close. And whenever you see that type of numbers behind one man, behind like leadership, not one man, but they behind the leadership and the principles. This time around, the vote splitting is not going to work. It's not. I don't think it's much of a threat. What I do think is more of a challenge for the Conservative Party to kind of navigate through, which might pose a problem, is this. And it's. I don't even think it's a domestic issue. It's more so the foreign policy aspect of it. The whole situation that's going on in Israel could hinder their I don't know how much. I don't know if it can cause them to lose enough votes to not win the race, but
where does he stand on?
Well, Poilievre is he takes a typical conservative standpoint where they unequivocally stand with Israel.
Okay, because I was gonna say, I was really excited about. Again, this goes back to the Americans, but I think it ties in to what you're about to say. Is I was really excited when RFK came in and went independent and was like fucking gung-ho.
Right.
I was like, finally, like this is what I want.
Right.
You know, a guy who's like kind of right down the middle on everything. He believes that it's important to take care of the environment, but not to put on all these carbon taxes, but just to stop corporations from polluting rivers and things like that.
Right.
There was all these great things. And then the war in Israel came up. And then I was like, oh,
right.
This guy supports bombing foreign countries like that.
Right.
For me,
right.
That's a pretty big turnoff. Like personally, I was going to ask you what your main kind of what are your main kind of moving points when maybe voting, or maybe you could go back to what you were going to say about Pierre Poilievre and the conservative stance of backing Israel.
Yeah, like what I'm saying about that. This is not my personal opinion about the war, but this is what I think is just happening. This is what's going to that the Conservative Party has to kind of play. You know, be mindful of how they kind of approach that, which is they listen. So did you ask a question, or did you just want me to finish my thought on that?
Go ahead and finish your thought.
Yeah,
it wasn't a real question.
That was pretty much it. That's what they just have to navigate very carefully, because the Liberals and the NDP will say anything. They'll say anything, right?
Yeah.
So they're coming out and they're going to support both sides, which they are. They've already said that, you know, you got Jagmeet Singh like signing off on some statement.
I was going to say, what do they
week.
even say? I'm so disconnected.
Bro, he
from
comes
this
out
shit,
every
but
week and he's like, the ICC endorses this, you know, we should stop the war. My opinion on that whole war is another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But they just pander, right? And they know it
Right.
works. They know it works, especially to a lot of new immigrants. So I'll say this to bring it back home to like what's going on in Canada. We take it. In my opinion, I think the number one issue that has to be addressed with immediately, and that's causing a lot of issues, and there's a lot of them. You know what I mean? You see homeless encampments, drug issues, the fiscal like nightmare that we're in terms of the debt, all of that. But I think our number one issue is immigration. Immigration in this country is destroying the country at the moment faster than anything else because it contributes to everything else that's already wrong in the country. Imagine like something's broken and you're just putting more gas onto that.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to even solve that issue, you got to close that valve first. And since I think we had about 1 million people in a 365-day period that immigrated to this country, I don't care who you are, what country you do, how rich you are as a country or whatever, that is an extremely difficult amount of people to absorb and keyword integrate into a society. We're not just trying to bring people here and give them a home. You have to integrate to a brand new land. It's just, that's a fact. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a racist thing to say or anything like that. And it's just too much, too fast, and with a country that's already stressed out. Our blood pressure was already just through the roof fiscally, housing being an issue, COVID, the division within the country. And then you just bring in a whole bunch of new people who are then kind of left pissing in the wind because they come to this country assuming for a better life. And they're put in extremely stressful situations in the sense that there's government service is absolute shit, number one. Number two, there's very few jobs. Places to live they're very far and few. And cost is through the roof. Even for citizens who live here who have good jobs, they're struggling. I don't even know how new immigrants are making ends meet, but they are. But I mean, maybe it has to do that they come from poverty. They could make it work here, living here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
maybe there could be government grants. There could be other things like
There's about. I mean, there was a report that came out. I think it was like in the $200 million was spent on a hotel in Niagara last year to house immigrants and migrant families who have they didn't work all year. They just got food and a house, like $134 a day per person. So
yeah, I tend to actually
immigration is number one. It has to stop immediately, and I'll go as far as there has to be a deportation that takes place with enforced deportation of expired visas, expired student visas, and all of these people that are gaming the system to stick around. Because when you have people that are wanting to game the system and whatnot, I don't think they're really interested in contributing to the society. They're here to get a passport, get citizenship, and probably take off for a little bit and come back when the situation's better. What are we doing as a country? Why are we even doing that? You know what I mean? All these people who have no incentive to contribute, getting all these perks, they leave, they come back.
Yeah.
We're heading to destruction is what's happening. So it needs to stop immediately. And that's one thing I don't think that I've heard the conservative or any member of government kind of even bring that up.
Yeah, I think it's a weird kind of thing to talk about for a lot of people just because I think
it's so ingrained in our culture.
Well, no, I just think by definition we're all immigrants.
Yes.
And so like at some point you kind of have to draw the line of like, okay, when is it acceptable? And I don't know. Like I said, I kind of tend to lean more libertarian in the type of like, fuck it, yeah, come here. Like I don't mind that. I actually like that.
There's nothing wrong with
you should come here.
There's nothing wrong with immigrants and new people.
But the thing is you either it's an obvious dance between like you either provide everything for the people that are here,
right,
and then you close the doors,
right,
or you allow everyone in, but then you can't really provide everything for them,
right. Well,
and so I tend to lean more towards like, well, I'm pro-immigration. Come on in.
Right.
Let's cut these taxes down, and let's fucking cut down on these useless fucking services that half the people don't even get to use in general.
100%.
Or, if you do get to use it, your experience with it fucking sucks. Like half the people, literally, half the people that are in the hospital, mind you, they probably couldn't afford it. The people that are waiting there for hours and hours and hours, every single time are like, I'd rather pay to see a doctor right now than wait fucking 12 more hours.
Oh my! Don't get me started on our fucking nightmare system. But yeah, you're right. Like And just so those people know, we have the most expensive Medicare system.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure our majority of our budget goes to our healthcare. You know what I mean? And it is the worst in terms of your experience. I shouldn't say it's the worst. There are worse places in the world. You know what I mean? But they're also kind of like running off of shoestring budgets. We have the biggest budget out there, and you just have leeches. A lot of the money, I think, just kind of trickles down and makes its way to big pharma.
Yeah, I mean, I just based on the way that our country, both America and obviously our country, Canada, spends their money. For me, the biggest like hot topic in the next coming election is going to be is going to be that foreign policy. It's going to be like because look, man, like
which is crazy considering the amount of domestic issues we have.
But the reason I say that is because you could solve all of our domestic issues if you stop funding fucking other people's wars.
I agree.
Because when we're talking about homeless encampments and fucking, that $2 million you just talked about, or billion, was it an M?
200 million.
Okay, 200 million that went towards that fucking hotel in Niagara.
Right.
You wouldn't have noticed that.
No.
Had we not fucking sent billions somewhere else.
No, listen, when you have a fiscally responsible government, the possibilities for the quality of life for citizens in this country, it could be unmatched. I went to Oman, right? I went to Oman and Dubai, and these are governments. Yeah, they're like people go off about the dictatorship. It's like, no, you have it completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have sheikhs and people who basically families that rule the countries.
Yeah.
But they care about their country.
Yeah.
Right? They care about their country. And the citizens live an incredibly high quality of life because the money makes their way to individuals. You're talking about free education, free healthcare, and they don't just hand out visas like candy. Mm-hmm. You can go and work in Dubai and Oman and live there for 15 years and not get a visa.
Yeah.
When your work visa expires, a citizenship, your work visa expires, they'll probably send you off. You know what I mean? No country is like us where we just kind of hand it out for fun.
Yeah.
And that's why they have such an amazing high standard of living there. When I went there, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
Like the way that country functions versus what we got out here.
I've never been there, but I'll take your word for it, man. I think it's going to be an interesting year for sure. I think that we're going to see really just how much corruption there is in North America over the next couple of years with the American election, and then after that will be the Canadian election in a couple of years, or next year, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be the fall
or
of
the following
fall
year.
of 2025.
Yeah,
fall of 2025.
So,
but I don't know if you know this, but we could have an election like today. It could happen next week if Jagmeet Singh removes his support of the current Liberal government. It would dissolve Parliament, and we would be thrusted into an election. But this guy won't do it.
Yeah.
He won't do it. But he comes out every day.
Well, it's his only chance of relevance.
Well, I think that, and he is entitled to a giant pension if he makes it by the next election.
Yeah.
So I think that's also an incentive.
Yeah.
But he's already rich. They make a lot of money. Like him and his brother run a PR firm that I think the NDP utilizes their services, which he's the leader of the party of. And they're kind of double dipping. So they do all sorts of shady shit.
I don't think government contracts work that way. Do you think that there's that much espionage or not espionage, but you think they all work in cahoots like that? Like
in
government contracts and private contractors?
Usually it's pretty...
Sorry.
Ottawa right now is probably the most infested it's ever been.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Ever
100%.
been. Every government will have scandal. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, government's corrupt. Yeah, there is. There's corruption in government. But there's checks and balances. When the checks and balances start to fall by the wayside and they're not holding people accountable, that's when you should be concerned. But when people see that there's corruption taking place, they take this very, non-committed stance where it's like, it's all corrupt. I don't really care. It's like, okay, you cannot care. But I'll tell you this. If I had, kids and a family, I probably want to be aware of where I live and what's happening and be involved in my communities and whatnot, contribute. Hello. We have a new guest?
Yeah, she was trying to make a joke. I got a cap gun yesterday, and she was showing me the cap gun like she was going to shoot it off. Or you can if you want. I don't need it. Okay. We have a gun now.
Score added. See, if you were black, you would have already been shot.
Yeah. So true, man. They'll probably come for this.
Even if they had the orange piece.
Yeah. They'll probably still come for this year. But, yeah, dude, I think it'll be interesting over the next little bit because I think over the next 2 years it will really display how much corruption there actually is in North America. I was going to say earlier, you were talking about kind of civil war breaking out or something like that. I can't remember what you were saying, but I will say that the last time political opposition was removed from the ballot, and you could fact check me on this and look it up,
right?
But I'm like 99% sure.
Like in the States?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was like the year before the Civil War kicked off.
Oh, where an actual political opponent was removed from the ballot?
Was taken off the ballot in a state. I think it was like I can't remember what it was, but I just think.
Well, I know they tried to do that to Abe Lincoln, try to get him off.
Did they?
Yeah. Well, they eventually murdered him. The bullet did find his head, and it's the same battle. Like at that time, it was very similar things that were going on in the country.
Yeah.
And he became a political figure that took on those particular values, and he had his opposing forces who wore those particular masks that time. Mm-hmm. It's the same light and dark battle that I think just happens over time. And you just have to choose in your lifetime which side you're going to stand on. And that's the dance of life, the yin and the yang. And I think every time this is an amazing opportunity for everyone to kind of like live your life with, if you can find to live your life in a purposeful way on a micro scale, you will be naturally, I think, thrusted on the macro scene as well and can find your contribution to pushing back the darkness and the evil. But it begins with getting to know yourself. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I was looking up something.
Go ahead. No,
sorry, you were saying. I'm going to quickly look this up.
Yeah. The last time a presidential candidate was taken off a state ballot.
Right.
I think I could be wrong, but I feel like it was right before the last Civil War. But, yeah, my American...
It was, let's see.
Yeah, my American history in regards to Civil War is not where it should be. I think I gotta look into that one next.
No, I don't think I don't see anything off the top here where it's talking about any sort of political, if it's happened before. There was Trump, who they said he won that case and was wrongly removed from the Colorado ballot.
Yeah, wasn't there 2 states that took him off?
But they both lost their cases, and they had to put him back on. But I don't know. It doesn't look like there was ever someone that was removed prior to the election taking place. There is room, like I mentioned. It did mention the rumor about Abe Lincoln, but apparently that he made his way back on. When was the last time a sitting president was dropped out of the race? Well, that was just this one, but no, I don't see any opposite here.
All right, we'll look that up later. But
yes. But you were saying like the last time someone might have potentially been removed off the ballot.
Yeah, I was just saying. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember who it was. We'll see if I can figure it out. But I'm not even going to fact check myself and come back to this. I don't even care anymore. But
right. Well, if you want a relevant story, back in grade 9 when I ran for prime minister in our social studies class.
Right.
I won that race.
But they removed you off the ballot?
No, I did win that race. But then I went on to run for premier for our grade. And yes, on the day of voting, I was removed off the ballot.
Why?
Because I was failing math. I got pulled. Our vice principal pulled me from the class I was in. He's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I know the election takes place next block, but we removed you off the ballot because I see that you're getting you're failing your math class.
You're getting a D or an F.
Yeah, this is like grade 10 or 11. The following year I ran, and I was already in slow people math, and I was failing that.
Wow.
So he's like, we're going to take you off. But I'm like, it's by 2%. Still fail.
Wow.
So I got removed. So
your introduction, your introduction to corrupt politics is thoroughbred.
Well, I was a genuine candidate. I was not corrupt. The corruption was with the principal.
You getting removed from the ballot. Yes,
absolutely. I actually started a whole freaking thing that same on lunch. I told people, I went around. I'm like, hey, when the ballot comes, you go ahead and you add my name.
Just write Hussain.
Write my name at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I think there's about 6 people that did.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, I lost the election.
The 6 guys weren't able to fucking...
No.
You needed a Gestapo, man.
Well, I didn't. I couldn't find that group. couldn't find that group.
Yeah, man. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything like that you want to touch on that we didn't touch on?
No, I covered a lot. This was actually a really good conversation today. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a really good conversation. But yeah, I think it's just the importance of people understanding that their politics is it's a very easy thing to brush off.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's a very popular statement to just say, it's negative and I don't like paying attention to negative stuff. And that is true. I don't think you should consume yourself with what's going on out there, but just have a general idea of what's going on. Be somewhat aware. You know what I mean? You don't want to sound like a complete ignorant person.
Yeah,
no. As a dude.
And dude, the biggest thing I get with I get frustrated with maybe not the biggest thing, but one of the things I get frustrated with politics as well is like the on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I get frustrated with it more with people I feel like on like the right that share a lot of my opinions, even though I wouldn't even really call myself right wing anymore. I feel like I've even drifted away from the right wing somewhat.
Right, you're so far right you're gonna fall off the edge type of thing.
No, I think I've just always been in the center, and I
right.
seemed far right because things got so far left.
Yeah, I think that's for a lot of people. A lot of people are just generally normal, common sense people.
Yeah.
But the world got so messed that common sense became like far right.
Yeah, well, I just think as well that there's a lot of people out there that share a lot of the sentiments that we shared today, and they are saying, like if we had a conservative leadership in Canada, if Donald Trump was the president in America, it would be better. And I think that the same people consistently complain about their own finances, their own life, their own freedom, aside from different mandates that allow you to go and travel and do things. There's definitely corruption there.
Right.
There's definitely restrictions there.
Right.
But for the most part, the same people that were complaining when Biden was president are the same people that were complaining about their finances when Trump was president.
Right.
And if they were old enough, they were complaining when Obama was president.
Right.
For the fucking 2 terms that he was there.
Right.
And I just feel like there's so many people that have this kind of like savior complex, this messiah complex of like a politician.
Like that person is going to...
Oh, if we get fucking Trump in office in November, we're set.
Right.
Oh, if we get Pierre Poilievre in office next year, we're set.
Right.
Like taxes are going to disappear,
right,
and all of a sudden everything's going to be fixed. And it's like this kind of like complex where people think like they're just consistently waiting for a savior.
100%.
And that's the part that pisses me off.
I agree with you.
And almost not just like waiting for a savior, but also bitching out of the accountability and being like, oh, fucking thanks, Obama. Oh, thanks, Biden.
Right.
Oh, thanks, Trudeau.
Right.
Like, it's like they made the bed that you lay in right now.
Right.
While you were out fucking snorting your money or fucking drinking away.
Right.
Or fucking buying everything that you thought you needed off Amazon or fucking brand new shoes or brand new cars. It's their fault that you did that?
Right. No, that's a great point. And to that, I think people have to you're so right, because to be honest, one thing people have to realize, like on a federal level, decisions that are made in Ottawa don't affect you or touch you as immediately as decisions that are made here at the municipal level.
Yeah.
Municipal government is much more important in your community than it is just paying attention to Ottawa. If anything, you should probably know what's going on in your neighborhood anyways, which goes to your point that if you're struggling already with your finances in life and you don't have your life together, having a Pierre Poilievre come into office is not going to solve any of those things for you. Most likely, your life will continue to look the same.
Yeah.
Because you're the same. So having that savior complex can be destructive for that person's life, because guess what? We're not having another election for another year. So you're going to let another 14, 18 months go by before you feel like you're in an environment where you can actually do something for yourself in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're totally right. I think you have to, but that's why we say you have to be able to see yourself.
Yeah.
Before you look out anywhere. Because, closing thought, I guess. I'll finish off with this. When my theory is like, now that we've kind of been able to take a look at what happened during COVID and whatnot, I think the play is very simple. You have to understand who's against you, and you have to understand who's with you. And if you do not see yourself, if you don't really know who you are, you have no idea that you yourself might be against yourself. Mm-hmm. It has to first come home right in the mirror. Because I think, so the play works like this. emotionally charging someone gets the body ready, and then once they're emotionally charged, whatever you give them intellectually, meaning through thoughts and visuals on the screen, it burns right into their brain.
Mm-hmm.
So the play is get them emotional and then run the same images on the TV in the same words.
Mm-hmm.
You do that long enough, what it becomes is now you are literally like a little lapdog. Like they say those words during COVID, we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
Wear a mask. Those same words that they repeat, it's like a spell because they and they
Build
can
back better.
right, and they can do that to you because you're emotionally charged when they give you information because of your lack of discernment. You think it's all real or whatever it is, the play, and it's not to blame people. They did a really good job fear-mongering, but that's why they do it. Emotional charge plus the visual creates the downloaded program into your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are not in touch with yourself emotionally, meaning you're not able to control your emotions, you're an empty vessel for whatever these movements are out there in the world to be utilized for. You're just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You have to be able to discern your own emotions. If you have struggles within your own family, relationships that you haven't cleared up, and you can't speak up there, going into the political sphere is probably not the best thing for you right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would address those. Fix the home. You know what I mean? Understand yourself. Don't be an emotional vessel where people can just download programs into you. And as soon as they say the spell, which is the word, you kind of get up and do as they say.
Yeah.
So the best way to push back, if you want to do something patriotic, you don't go out there and fucking, at a protest fighting for good. There's times and places for this. I'm not completely against protests, you know what I mean? But every week out there standing out for this or that, it doesn't work. I think if you're at home, and especially as a dude, you have to have your shit. You have to have yourself together.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what's going on inside of you, most likely whatever you think is happening in the world is also deceptive. It's deceiving you.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my 2 cents on that, man.
I think that's beautiful. Folks, thank you very much for joining us today.
I appreciate it, man. I love coming on, bro.
Thank you, brother.
I'll see you soon.
Hussain Aziz. Thank you very much. Much love. Peace out. Love you all. Bye.